Hello.
Hey.
Hey, and welcome, Teja. Teja,
Thank you,
lovely name.
Mm.
Welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation for this chat. Let's say,
Yeah.
let's don't call this an interview because it's just a chat.
That's all it is, a chat.
Yeah. I would like to share what let's say pulled my attention, although I'm not sure, but let's try. So a friend posted one of your videos. I'm not sure what exactly, but one of your videos in Liberation Unleashed group in Facebook, in guides group. And yeah, it was interesting to see that. I guess you was also in the forum, but how the guides describe this, you came there already cooked, whatever that means. But yeah, this is like explaining words like. So that was the first impression, and the second was like another friend sent me one of your latest videos, I guess, with Maya. And he said, you should reach this guy and you should talk with him. And I said, okay, maybe this is the second sign I was waiting for. So that's the short story of apparent reaching you.
Yeah.
And here
I'm glad you reached. It's fun to talk to you.
Yeah.
The Liberation Unleashed, I received a recommendation from somebody who comes to our weekly Sunday satsangs, who was a member. I hadn't even heard of them yet. This is only a few weeks ago. I hadn't heard of Liberation Unleashed. And he said, actually, they could use somebody like you if you're interested. You wouldn't be coming on so much to get information as much, or guidance as much as you'd be guiding others.
Yeah.
So then I just wrote to them and I said, I don't know anything about you, but I'm available if you want me to assist people. And they were like, okay, we have to put you through some tests first to make sure you're cooked.
Yeah, these are general questions. Yeah, but what these questions are pointing to, let's start from there. So yeah, let me ask you, what shall I ask first? What is the experience of Teja? What is Teja? What's behind this name?
Well, at one level, I'm just a dude.
How nice.
You know, I'm just a guy, very normal upbringing in Eastern United States, East Coast, and moved to the West Coast. And I have a wife of 35 years, and we're still in love after 35 years. And I have a son who lives on the East Coast, and he's 30. And I started having some kind of alternate experiences at a very young age. So the first time I was 5, and I had what appears to be a complete satori, unbidden. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't trying. I was 5. You know, I was just trying to be 5. But something happened one night, and the feeling of a separate self collapsed for a little bit. It was just clear that there was only life. There was no separate self.
Hmm.
And it was very exciting. It felt very expansive. And it lasted about 2 hours. And then it recurred again when I was in my teenage years. And at one point, it actually scared me a little bit because it looked like I was disintegrating.
Mm-hmm.
And so different from all the kids around me. And I didn't know how to tell anybody. And my parents were very ordinary people, so I didn't know how to tell them either. And so it was something that made me feel psychologically nervous, like, oh my God, what's happening to me, that kind of thing. But it also put me firmly on the pathless path to finding out, what is this? Is it happening to me? Is there even a me? What's the point of all this? Is there a point?
Yes.
all those great questions. And so I would say for the next 25 years, there was a lot of visiting with different teachers, living at different ashrams and monasteries, practicing various forms of meditation, the whole
range, the whole spectrum. Yeah.
yes. And meantime, the sense of a separate self that's doing these things continued to disintegrate more and more. And I started spending time out in the woods a lot because I felt a very strong affinity for the woods, for trees and animals and nature and birds. And it felt like I could really merge with life, sometimes a little bit easier than I could back at home doing my work and working with people and stuff like that. And at a certain point, I disappeared and never came back again. At a certain point, it became clear that there was just this character, this action figure walking around, but it was just one more part of life. It wasn't a separate entity. And
can you say that it was like a gradual falling away, or it was like there was like a moment that you could point while you were speaking about the first experience you remember, like when you was 5 years old? Does this boy know that this boy know that something was happening, or
yeah.
can you expand on this? Yeah.
Well, it always seems like both, doesn't it? It seems like there's a gradual leading up to something. And it seems like there's this illusion called time that you can measure and you can chart the path and you can say, first this happened, then this happened. And then there's when it collapses, there's no time. Immediately, there's no time. So there's no path towards it anymore. There's no, you can't pinpoint a creeping up on reality. It's very sudden and very unexpected, because there's this thought, well, if I meditate more, or if I read more of Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta, or if I, do something, then I will move closer and closer and closer. And then one day it'll just be complete. And I can't speak for anybody else, but it seems like, definitely for me, and it seems like for anybody, it never happens that way.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
you do all that stuff and nothing happens, except maybe you get a little bit calmer in meditation and various samadhis and stuff like that. And then one day you're just walking down the street with an ice cream cone in your hand, and boom, reality collapses. And you're like, whoa. And it doesn't seem to have a whole lot to do with anything that went before. You'd think it would, but there's no cause and effect to it. right? So in that sense, I was in the woods. I can locate myself for the purpose of this talk. And I can say I was in the woods outside of Lake Tahoe, which is in California and Nevada. It's right on the line between the two. And at one point, a thought came to me from a quote from Ramana Maharshi. And it was, the self is always the self, and there's no realizing it or attaining it. Who is there to realize what and how if all that exists is the self? And I heard that in my head, and that was it. It was over. So, everything's the same. Life goes on, and I seem to still have the same qualities, but and all of my friends tell me I have the same personality. Not always complimentary. Oh, Teja, that guy, he's the same he was before, But I'm not here. There's just life, and I have no control, and I have no desire for control, and a group of people seem to be asking me to talk to them about that, like we're doing. So I wrote a little book. And then I started answering questions on the Quora website, the question and answer site. We have categories specifically for enlightenment and spiritual awakening and things like that.
That's a nice one. We can see what enlightenment is.
And then people said, can we meet with you on a regular basis? But already COVID had started. So I had stopped doing in-person guidance. And so we just went on to Zoom and started doing every Sunday. We do a meeting. We do a very short meditation just to calm everybody down a little bit. And then questions and answers. And it's been happening now for about 2.5 years. And I'm always amazed. I'm amazed at the different aspects of life that show up. All these beautiful faces and people from all over the world. I would say 50% of the people who show up are from the East. They're from India and Pakistan. And then the other 50% are Europe and the United States. And, I always kid with the people who are from India. I say, what are you doing here? This is where it came from, is where you already live. Why are you listening to some, nice white boy from the East Coast of the United States? But they show up, and the questions are always beautiful. And it seems like there's I want to say it's a remembrance and a celebration. There's really no teaching going on, right? It's not like I'm guiding anybody. I'm not a teacher. They're not the students. But together we get together and celebrate what is. We celebrate this and the fact that we're just this. We're not separate entities. We celebrate that. And then somehow a lot of them remember. A remembrance gets triggered, right? It's nothing new. They're not hearing anything, learning anything new, but you watch their eyes and you watch their faces and you watch them go off like popcorn, and it's like, oh, I remember this. I know this. Yes, this is what I really am. And so it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, it is. It brings joy. Like before we start the recording, and you asked me about the channel and the conversation, and I, I, I don't know why I'm doing this, although I didn't do anything. But yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely there is a joy, and this joy is like it's like moving everything. I don't know, maybe. Who knows?
It's just what's happening.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have a
Oh.
purpose. But it seems like life has some sort of impetus to share itself with itself, to celebrate itself. So here we are celebrating life. And, prior to this, I was a professional musician and in recording studios and in different music groups. And there was a similar thing. We would play and sing and people would go off, like popcorn. They would just get happy and they would celebrate and they would discover new parts of their life as a result of the music. So I guess this is just an extension of that. I don't know.
Behind you, it's so beautiful background, and there is something which reminds me of this gateless gate and pathless path that you have mentioned.
Yeah, the game.
So yeah. So can you expand on this? What is the gateless gate, and who is there to cross it?
Well, there's an appearance that life, which is only one, split itself into two so that it could have fun looking for itself. A little game of hide and seek, right? But if the game completes, if life finds itself, it just finds life. So nothing really happened. It finds itself, not something else. So it just goes back into that oneness again. It seems to go back into that oneness again. So it's the same thing for the so-called individual. We get on a path as if we're going to go through the gate. And when we go through the gate, what will be on the other side? Heaven, bliss, self-realization, enlightenment, who knows, But then right after we seem to have passed through the gate, we turn around and we look and there's no gate. There's nothing there. Nothing happened except that the illusion shifted. The illusion that we were something separate from life shifted. But even that, if it was an illusion, really nothing happened. So that's why I guess they call it the gateless gate.
Yeah, it's so like obvious now. I'm looking this gate behind you, and when you cross it, it's the same, like
on either side.
Reality. Yeah, is this it's just dividing, like there is this division, but it's the same. Amazing.
Yeah, it's just something in this. It's something. It's nothing appearing as something, right? As nothing appearing as everything, and that feels pretty clear to me. That I think that was the first thing that occurred to me when I said that I had this satori at 5 years old. I don't know how a 5-year-old could even think like these thoughts. But immediately I knew this is nothing. This is just a projection. I was actually out in the backyard of my home with my grandmother, and we were looking up at the stars. And it was the sky was ink black indigo color, and the stars were beautiful. And I was holding her hand. And I looked up and I went, this is not here. It's just a projection. You can put your hand right through it. Even my feet could go right through the ground here. This is just an illusion. And I knew it. I knew it with absolute certainty. It wasn't open to discussion. And I didn't say anything to my grandmother because I also knew that she knew it, but wasn't currently knowing it. So she would probably think, oh, he's he's out there. So I didn't mention it to her, but I looked up at her with such love. A love much greater than just normal grandson, grandmother love, because I also knew that she was nothing, being everything. This was all nothing being everything. And yeah. And then she passed away very soon afterwards. And I immediately knew that there had been the illusion of form, and then she's back into the formless again. It's just form back into formless. And didn't mean anything. Wasn't a problem. I didn't cry or miss her, even though my parents, they were very upset. I was like, no, it's okay. This is nothing. She's just back as nothing again. They didn't like that too much.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned your beautiful relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
Do you share this? I don't know. Obviously you share, but okay. You're sharing this, you celebrate with, let's say, with those people who are joining your Sunday group. And are there any other beings to whom you would like to share, or you sharing with your friends?
Well, I never know what I'm going to say or what's going to come out of the mouth, right? I assume you feel the same way. So I can only be this presence of whatever life wants to express here. So I don't change for my wife or any of my friends. I'm the same dude. So I think they all get where I'm going with this, and most of my friends are of similar mind, no mind, similar no mind. Some of them are on different paths. My wife is a dancer, so she seems to express that celebration through movement. She was never a person who could do sitting meditation. That wasn't her jam. She's very kinetic. I was more the one who could do lots of silence. She's not big on silence. She wants to move. But I'm sure that she's the same. And we seem to complement each other well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. It's not important that you are going out there spreading the message, whatever messages, I don't know. Yeah. It seems that it's not important. And somehow, like you said, I also noticed something similar. Like, it seems that people, beings around me, around us, it's that something is flowing in the same direction, but on its own way.
Yeah, it seems like there's a magnetism for some people towards that. There's a natural, I think once there's a taste of no self, no personal self, and even if just for a few moments you get a chance to experience the freedom that comes with seeing through the illusion of a personal self, you want to revisit that. You feel attracted, and you keep going back, and then maybe at some point it becomes what you are all the time. And somebody asked me the other day, do you think there's more of this in the world, more going off, right? More people, you know.
People are sorry, but it's funny. I wanted to share. People are interesting. Like, yeah, do we become more like wow?
You know, because on one sense, in one sense, something a website like nothing. .com, you know, couldn't have even existed 20 years ago, probably.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And people say to me, oh, you sound a lot like this one or that one, you know, Tony Parsons. You sound like Tony Parsons. You know? I love Tony. He's wonderful. Or you sound like Adyashanti or whatever. And they say, is that a sign that more and more people are waking up? Are, you know, are seeing through the illusion? And that's a very deep question in some ways, because you have to consider a lot of things. First of all, as far as I can tell, the percentage, there's more people in the world, but the percentage of people who are interested in this is still about the same, which is like 0.0001%. You know?
Totally.
It's a very, very small niche.
Yeah, especially when you're discussing something called nothing. Yeah. Say, all right, the absence of a self.
Yeah, you know, if somebody asks and I say, well, but there's no one asking and there's no one answering, that right away you would lose about 99.99% of the population of Earth.
Agree.
They're like, okay, bye. I don't know what, I'm out of here. You know.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing your philosophy. Good luck.
Yeah. Right. And then the other thing is in the realization that nothing is happening and that it really doesn't matter. You know, and sometimes I have to say to people, you think that there is someone talking to someone. You think there's two human beings here. Okay. And you think that there's time and space, right? Okay. So let's put it in your terms so you can understand it better. If we look at all of time and we plot it on a 24-hour clock, human beings just arrived a half a second ago. For eons and eons and eons, there was no humans, there was no brains, there was no thought, there was no questioning about awareness and consciousness and all this kind of stuff, you know? We just got here.
Yeah, out of nowhere, we don't know how.
So when you ask the question, you know, are there more humans than ever before who are waking up? So what?
Exactly. Who is important this like at all?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, you know. Most likely, based on the way things are looking in Earth, in human population, not only did we just get here half a second before midnight, but we'll probably be gone before midnight, before the stroke of midnight. We keep trying to destroy ourselves. We do a really good job. So don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about, are there more people awakening? Are there more teachers, more paths? Instead, just be with this and see if it's real. Be with this personal self that's having this perceptions, and go looking and see if there's really a self in there. You know, if there's no self in there, none of this is going to matter to you. All these logistical questions are going to
yeah.
So
yeah, because you mentioned looking to look, is there a self there? And looking is, let's say, the base of investigation. I don't know how to call it, exploration, which is happening in Liberation Unleashed, is what we are doing there, trying to guide someone. This is, of course, it's not happening. It's just what's happening. It's no one is doing anything. And it's trying to like to I don't know to what. I forgot what I wanted to ask you. happens quite
Doesn't
often.
it seem like it's
Yeah, about
life
looking.
looking for life?
Yeah.
If you know, when we say go looking and see if there's really a self in there, immediately the question comes up, well, who's going to go looking?
Totally.
If
Exactly.
there's no self, then who's going to look for the self? Right? And I've even had some advanced students who have said to me, well, Teja, when you tell us to go looking, aren't you actually just reinforcing the ego? Because it makes immediately you have to play the role of the self in order to go looking for the self. So isn't that just going back to practices?
Yeah, and isn't it a practice? Because now lately it becomes clear, thanks to the radical non-duality, that no practice is going to take you anywhere. It's so obvious. Yeah, but this is like, I'm so happy that you spot on this. So please go on. It's not a practice, right? Let's be clear, because non-dual police is watching behind the corner.
I mean, I
kidding.
sometimes I would say to that person, did you get out of bed this morning? Oh, yes, I got out of bed this morning. Okay. And then did you go and make yourself some food, some breakfast? Yeah, I did that. Okay. So who got out of bed and who ate? Right? It doesn't mean that because there is no self, that the body mind organism stops doing things. Ultimately, it's just being, talking to being about things being already knows and doesn't need reminding of. It's just life looking at life, looking for life, playing with life. That's all that there is. So if I say, go looking and see if there's a self, you know, obviously the same person who swung their feet over the side of the bed and put them on the ground and got out of bed, the same body mind organism that fixed itself some breakfast and ate to nourish the body, that's the one that's going to go looking. So it looks like there's a self trying to find out that there's no self.
Yeah.
No way that you can avoid that. It looks like that from the mind, the mental view, which is subject object, right? Everything is subject object, you know. But ultimately, what really seems to be happening is life just gave itself an invitation to go looking and seeing what life is. It seems like it happened in the body and the mind and the perception of an individual, but it was just life going, I think I'll go looking for myself.
Yeah.
If I'm there, that's all. Nothing happens, and there's still only one. There's not two, one looking for the other. But it's hard to put that into words and avoid the subject object and avoid the concepts. So I expect people to say, every once in a while, to say, well, it sounds like a practice. It sounds.
I constantly, let's say lately, I have this like resistance. I am not that I have it, I receive it from people I encounter, like, but is this a practice? Because I'm watching non-duality videos and all these people are pointing that no practice is helpful.
Yeah. So then you can also follow that up, or I would follow it up and say, okay, then don't do this. Don't go looking. You can skip it. You're right. There are no practices. There's no purpose. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to attain.
And
so
also
don't.
Stop, and also stop seeking and stop watching those videos if you can. But you obviously
right. Yeah, don't watch any more videos. And then maybe we'll bump into each other a year from now, and you can tell me what's happening. And you know, either way, however your life is going 1 year from now, because you looked and practiced, or because you didn't look and didn't practice, I'm still going to be interested to interact with you a year from now and see what's happening. Yeah. We're still going to have fun with it. It's not going to matter either way. But it is, I can see it's a fine line, because, you know, some people will take that, right? Some people are going to take that suggestion, go looking and see if there's a self. And then they're going to spend hours every day looking, you know, all the people who took Ramana Maharshi's original Atma Vichara, which is constantly asking, who am I? Who am I? What am I? And they thought that that's what self-inquiry meant, was I'm supposed to sit around all day going, well, who am I? Well, what is this? Well, you know, that's just
I know people, they are doing this for years, and even they continue like doing this. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
So it's just fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Totally. I totally agree.
That's why we call it a celebration. It's just,
Yeah. I like when you mentioned causality, and I wanted like to bring you back on this topic of cause and effect. So obviously, it seems that there is, obviously, actually, there isn't. Yeah, if I go back into my memories, let's say, I will follow these things like I was watching satsangs a year and a half. Then a friend came and said, why don't you look and try this forum called Liberation Unleashed? I go there, a guide picked me and start repeating like, but look, don't go to thoughts. Just look and tell me, where is this one who is thinking, choosing,
right.
deciding? And this, like, it was like for a few weeks or so. And one morning I just woke up, I drink coffee, I look around, and there was just this.
Right.
And it has always been like this. I didn't discover anything. Nothing came, nothing went, nothing. It's just this life. No Luchana anywhere. So it may be when I'm telling this, it looks like it happened because I went into the forum and I start looking and blah blah blah. It's just a story as well.
Yeah, we love our stories, don't we?
No, I very rare share this, but yeah, but
I'm so glad.
it's just a story. What is cause and effect? What is causality?
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, as long as there's still a sense that there is a self, then there's also a sense that the self is maybe struggling or suffering and wants to end that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the part that hears go looking, and then immediately says, oh boy, here's a method to get rid of my suffering and my struggle, right? It's a fine line to cross that, to realize that this is a non-doing. To tell somebody, go looking, sounds like a doing. And somewhere along the line, Luchana was just gone, and there's just what is. And it's because at a certain point you weren't doing looking anymore. There was no doer or doing anymore. And yet at the same time, the time spent looking kind of allowed for that remembrance, right? To come up that, oh, there's no doer, there's no doing. Even looking is no doing. This doesn't feel like a doing. It feels almost like a non-doing, like a disintegration of doing, right? A dissolving. So sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. People in my satsang who say, well, if I go looking long enough, will I end up like you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you won't end up like me. There's nobody here. You're going, you don't want to become this. You're going to remember that you're not doing anything at all, that there isn't even a you that's doing anything. Life is just doing it. And you may remember that or you may not. Oh, well, how long will it take? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could happen tonight, or you could be on your deathbed and it still hasn't happened. Sorry, it's just out of our control. It's just life, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
I think that this is the best part. If there is a best part, this is it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you will say, what you will do. It just doesn't matter.
right. And
but in a beautiful way, not in a. It's not ugly. It's not like
no.
brutal.
Oh, just what is what is.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to make it into what isn't. This is it. This is it. And maybe if even for just a split second, you taste the freedom of that. That's what you were just talking about, how if it doesn't matter, there's boundless freedom in every direction immediately. Oh, wow, this is it. This is it. How free. If you taste that freedom, even for a second, maybe you'll want that freedom again. Maybe it will appear that you want to cling to the way of the self, of trying to make things happen, manipulating things with the self. Maybe you'll go back and forth. Maybe you won't.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's the freedom.
Oh.
But I never could have predicted in my memory that the moments leading up to that would lead up to that. I couldn't. Who knows?
Yeah, no one knows. It's also one big misunderstanding that maybe someone knows something. Yeah. There is here this gratitude arising from time to time towards, let's say, book or someone, I don't know, someone. But really, yeah, it's not possible to know anything.
Oh, and then there's that question, is there a willingness to live in the unknowing rather than in the knowing? For me, and I think also for you and for the non-me and the non-you, there's no knowing. I didn't know what I was going to say to you or think. I'm really enjoying our conversation. I didn't know that either, So every second is brand new. There's no knowing. And I think for the illusion of the self, that's frightening, because there's a desire for some kind of control, and that has to be let go of in order for this to just be the unknowing. This is just energy, atoms running around in the unknowing of other atoms. Is there a willingness to do that, or do I want to make sure I have a solid form and direction here? It's okay. Either one is an expression of life. It appears, right? People say that, they ask me about what does life want, right? That's the question is, well, if there's just this and there's only life, there's only being, there's no duality, then what does life want with this apparent manifestation? Why is it bothering? Right? And then a lot of people come up and they will answer that, and they'll say, well, it's life's desire that all of us eventually get enlightened. All of us there is a purpose here, and the purpose is that we all go through the gate and awaken, and eventually that will happen. Okay. But if that's true, then how come 99% of the world isn't even thinking about this stuff, let alone actually walking any kind of path to this stuff. If you look at it from that point of view, it looks like life doesn't want that at all. It actually is enjoying the movie, and it doesn't want the movie to stop. Because if everybody woke up, movie's over. Time to put your popcorn down and leave the theater because it's over. It appears that it wants it to keep going on for a while. So obviously, awakening and enlightenment couldn't possibly matter less. What a story.
Yeah. 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 Nice. Lovely. A thought came like to ask you about the suffering and what is suffering, and is there an end to suffering?
Is there what to suffer?
An end.
Oh. Well, there is no suffering. That's just a concept that selves, illusory selves, overlay onto just what is, right? There's just what is. And then, I mean, if I go talk to one of the birds that's flying behind me here and ask about suffering, they'd be like, what? There's just what's happening. Sure, there's pleasure and pain. There's days where there's good worms and days where I have no food to give to my chicks. There's all of that, but there's no suffering. What's suffering? They would not understand it. So that's just something we overlay on top of it. And only because we think there's a personal self. Life is just happening. So life's not suffering. Life, I think that what happens is in our minds, life, we only want life to include certain things, but not the other things, right?
We are like picky. Yeah.
We're picky.
I wanted just a pleasant sensation.
Yeah. No, life has it all. It has decay and decrepit and perishing. It has pain. It has, tragedy and loss and all that kind of stuff. That's all part of the movie.
And it is already served. It is
already
served. Yeah, it's here already. Everything, like all inclusive.
Yeah, and that's the invitation. How free would you be if you included all of it instead of just some of it? How freeing would that be? How much of your apparent energy that's so contracted into resisting what is and trying to massage what is would be freed up, and all of a sudden you have like this, what some of these non-people call bliss or enlightenment or whatever. It's really just an explosion of energy that used to be tied up in resisting everything, and then all of a sudden wow, because it's not being held that way anymore. But I guess in order to do that, there can be no disinclusion. Everything has to be included. Otherwise, you'll find something to resist and try to control, and then the energy gets bound up again. And I was enjoying Tony Parsons a while ago, because in one particular talk that he was giving, he reminded, this is an energetic contraction, not just an intellectual one. That's why we can't simply intellectually go in and say, is there a self? Go looking. Nope, there's no self. I get it. I totally get it. It's clear as a bell. So therefore, I should feel free. I should feel liberated. Moksha, I'm totally done. But it doesn't sustain. That's because it's not just an intellectual realization. There's the actual energy coming together, apparently, coming together to form everything that we appear to be. And that energy is held in that contraction. And that's also fine. It's just fine that your energy is still contracted and that maybe you had an intellectual realization that there's no self, but you don't feel it all the time. That's okay too. Once again, it doesn't matter. Right. But that's, if you want a description of why, it's because there's still an energy that's contracted there. It's intellectual is not enough. The intellectual realization is not enough. But at some point, totally out of our control, life might say, okay, that's enough of that contraction of energy in that particular place. We're just going to blow that apart, let that energy just kind of go out into the universe. And that's what happens when Luchana wakes up one morning and looks around and goes, oh, I see. There's just this.
Yeah, it has always been like this. And this is also a beautiful story because in the end, nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
It seems like one of the biggest, as a guide or as a celebrator of this, it seems like one of the biggest chores, if there is a chore, right, of guiding people, is pulling them away from all of the romanticized stories about enlightenment.
Yeah, agree.
There's thousands of years of books and scriptures and gurus and saints, and there's this incredibly romanticized story about what it takes to become enlightened and what you feel like once you finally are enlightened and how everything is different. And it's really got a grip. It's really hard to talk through that because people are so certain that it must be some epic event,
Yeah, expectations are such a hindrance, enormous hindrance. Apparently, but yeah.
So it's like, well, if you want to continue with that story, that's fine. You can do that. You can think that you have to meditate for X number of years, and then you reach samadhi for X number of years, and then maybe sahaja samadhi, and maybe then all of a sudden you go through a period where the world looks
yeah. Wait, and actually world looks like completely ordinary and simple.
I think there's a Buddhist saying, I can't remember it, but I can paraphrase it, but it's a famous one. It's prior to walking on the path, rivers look like rivers and rocks look like rocks. Then I started to awaken and everything looked amazing, like energy and atoms and everything looked different. And then I went through the gateless gate and rivers look like rivers and rocks look like rocks. So maybe everybody.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, maybe everybody wants that. They want that period in the middle. This is my movie. It's got to have an arc to it. I want to have the part where everything gets really juicy.
Vivid, live, like, rich. Yeah, this can happen.
Yeah.
May happen or may not.
May or may not.
And it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter.
This is the title. This should be the title of our conversation. It doesn't matter. Nice one.
This is the so what interview. So what? So what?
Yeah.
but it's also
it's
great.
almost it's almost an hour.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying. No, it doesn't matter. I'm just sharing.
Yeah. I have to mention that this is totally off the subject, but is that my son, who is 30, just got engaged to be married.
Great. Congratulations to your
And
son.
the woman that he is engaged to, who is going to be my daughter-in-law, I guess, she's from Czechia.
Czech Republic.
She's from the Czech Republic.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, we
And
are neighbors.
I was going to say, you and she have the same accent. So as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking of my future daughter-in-law.
Lovely.
She's a lovely woman, like yourself. She's very tall. She's 6 foot tall. She's a fashion model.
Wow.
And, you know, but she sounds just like you.
Oh, how sweet.
I'm trying to teach myself some Czech so I can speak to her in her own language.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. That's a tough one.
I'm going to put in the description on the video your website. I think you have website as well.
Yeah, now it's an interesting
And
thing. The
YouTube
website, I would say it probably better to direct people to either the YouTubes or to my answers on Quora.
All
the
right.
website has kind of gone fallow.
All right.
The website, I haven't updated it in years because no one was visiting it anyway. Because there's no one here, obviously.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people were visiting the questions and answers on Quora, thousands.
All right. I'll put the link there. Maybe you should send me
I'll send you the link for that.
And I'll put also together with the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
As well.
And then maybe some people might like to read the little book.
Beautiful.
That's available through Amazon, and so they can look at it.
Great. And maybe we can make another one live. How do you feel about this?
Another
chat live, and let's say invite people who are watching your channel or our channel.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is quite fun to have live chat like this because it is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's happening at the moment, and it's quite nice. There is something like.
Who are some of the other people that you have had sessions with?
Ooh.
Aside from Theo.
Live. Theo, Susan. Yeah, we had with Ariana a few, but it was like before. I can't remember.
I would think it would be a lot of fun to have all of us together.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good one. Yeah.
And maybe bring in, if possible, some of people, Emerson, and some of the people that he has interviewed. Because he has, he's done a lot of talks with Tony, and then he's done a lot of talks with the people who are connected to Tony, like Jim Newman and Naho, and some of these other amazing people.
Yeah, it would be fun.
It'd be a blast.
Great suggestion. Lovely.
I hope that actually I don't hope, it doesn't matter. But I'm wondering if what we are talking about is what you wanted to cover with this Teja character, or if it's turning out.
Wow. Honestly, I don't know. I have no expectations, and
good.
I didn't want to cover anything. I just wanted to have chat.
That's great. I thought so, but I've also had some other people interview me, and they were like, you keep getting off the topic. Can I steer you back to, I have some questions I want to make sure get answered before we leave. And I didn't feel that coming from you, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. But it's It's all okay.
That's great.
So perfect.
It's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I'm wishing you a lovely day, sunny day.
Yeah, I look forward to speaking with you again, even.
Yeah, we can figure it
just for
out.
fun.
Let's see how schedule is like yours, and we'll see.
And it's your
At
evening.
this time is okay for you, like morning time for you.
Yeah, this is when I usually have my consultations, is between
Great.
9 and 12 in the
Great.
Pacific time. And you're in the evening right now, right?
Yes, yes, which is also fine. It's perfect timing.
I didn't even get a chance to ask you, do you have family? Do you have
Yeah, I have.
children?
Yeah, a son.
That's great. It's a wonderful thing in our movies to see the reflection
True.
going forward.
True. Yeah.
It's great.
Well,
all right.
I'm going to stop. Thank you so much. Really, such a
celebration.
celebration. Yeah. I'm going to stop.